It's a crack of dawn once again. No alarms today, but welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a very early Friday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. As always, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest on this Friday, which you get no rest for the fucking weekend because it's a 24/7 market. No sleep for the wicked, no rest for the wicked, I think is the saying. And we have plenty to talk about, not just with good old cone action, but also with all the world markets. As we've been saying, rotations are in effect, and I do believe that Bitcoin did bounce once again off the the medium-term time frame range. So I want to follow up on that as well, plus continuations in traditional markets. So all of that and more coming into a weekly close here later today on Friday, with both CMEs closing for the weekly, and obviously all traditional markets closing as well, with spot price action to close on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So all of this is a major setup, and a lot of things are going, or biases are going to be either biases are either going to be confirmed or denied, very likely by the end of today. So with that said, let's go put the interest on the open interest on the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. Still hanging around 2.4 billion, not really too much of a change from yesterday to today. Same thing with Bitcoin dominance, still right under 59%, which we have seen a little bit of a different effect here as Bitcoin did come down. Dominance did come up, which did suggest that alts were falling faster versus US dollar than Bitcoin itself. But I do want to give that another look on the actual ratio. We are kind of in like a bounce area there regardless, which we spoke about at the end of last week. So let's take another look as we progress towards the end of this month. Fear and greed index also taking up, this is actually a little bit strange, taking up 6 points from 75 from yesterday to today, although Bitcoin more or less range bound on the medium term timeframes, and having a nice little uppity up, it looks like right now. Let's go check out the data tab. Is everything coming back into parity? Yes, indeed it is. We do see Bitcoin global funding rate still around that 0.02% region, which is nothing. Usually par for the course is 0.01%, but anything below 0.1%, as you saw right around here, which actually did denote the last local top, by the way, so that does work actually rather well still. Is just hearsay. It's more or less mental masturbation than anything else. Everything else that we're looking at over here, more or less the same, really. So with that said, let's go to the actual price action charts right here and see what we got. So looking at Bitcoin on the daily, things are looking like Bitcoin is going to very likely try another rally to the top side of the medium term range. The same area that we've been looking at on the I guess we were looking at a 4 hour right here. Yeah. And I think we just looked at this, or constructed this new chart on GDAX. Yep. And the top side of the medium term range, somewhere right around a little bit above 12,000, like 12,000 and some odd chain, 12,050 we'll say, between 12,050 and 12,000 even. So as long as Bitcoin's playing between here, sideways is more or less constructive, and this would be constructing a higher low at the same time. And I do believe that this is coming along the side of, yes, hidden bullish divergence playing out as well, as we spoke about on 4 hour RSI, going all the way back to 11th of August low right here out of this base from 11,500, connected with this more recent low right around 11,650. So overall, Bitcoin just kind of grinding its way onwards and forwards, and more importantly, with the strength in traditional markets right now, which we do see NASDAQ once again making new all-time highs, which we'll cover a little bit later. It would suggest that very likely Bitcoin does get another test back up in this topside blue box here, as we've been saying. I feel like even over this last week, while we did have some downside displeasures, the good old box, the blue boxes of peace and prosperity, once again showing the way. As I believe at the end of last week, we said as long as Bitcoin's above 12.1, all good. Bitcoin broke 12.1, that initiated and moved back down here to this blue box at 11,650-ish region, we'll call it. And then bouncing back up, and again, just going from support to resistance, just going level by level, essentially, as I've been saying. And so I just want to focus on this for a second here, because this whole last week, while it has been more or less boring for most people, as a trader, as a trader trading ranges, it's actually rather nice, as everything's well and defined. And while sometimes things do take a little bit of waiting time, overall, that is it's not too glorious as far as a trading style, but I'm sure that most people can learn how to do that with just I don't know, probably just like a couple months at most of really dedicated studies. But over, everyone always wants to fucking complicate shit, and that's what we're doing right here, anyways. Because well, why else make a video? And more importantly, same thing as yesterday. As long as Bitcoin's below 12,000 and above, let's call it this rising trend line right here, coming in around now 11,700. Really not anything new to be spoken about, just range bound. And seeing as we just tested the low side of the range, I'd probably be looking for a test to the top side of the range, somewhere right around around, like we said, about 12,000 bucks, give or take 50 bucks within that region. Now, if Bitcoin did move outside of the top side blue box right here on the medium term time frame range, let's call it with a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo closure, especially above $12,050, I would look for extension all the way back up here towards 12.3 to 12.5 region, and that would overall look very good, long term, obviously. By the same token, if Bitcoin were to head back down and break, especially below, let's call it the 11,000, this is a little bit tricky here. It depends what time frame that you use, but because what's the highest time frame that we can use on this one that actually is going to make sense? A 6-hour, yeah. As long as we're closing above 11,700, and I would actually like to use a 6-hour for this one just because it does make a little bit more sense here. I still just game of supporting resistance, but if 11,700 were to break to the downside, especially on that 6-hour time frame, which could probably be used on a 3-hour as well. Let me go check it out. Somewhere right around there. Then I would be looking for a move back down to the low side of the long-term zone right here at about 11,050 11,050 to 10,950 in that $100 range right there. So overall, still that is the name of the game, and of course that would also imply a new trend on the daily as well if that were to happen. But as I said, I'm actually not looking for that to happen right here. I do think that Bitcoin very likely pulls through and at the very least tests the top side of the medium-term range at about 12,000. If 12,000 gets closed above on a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo, and more so like 1250, we'll call it, then I'd extend targets back up essentially to this last local high right here on a closing basis, so 12.3, and then we'll see how that sets up for the weekly closure, as that's going to have major implications going forwards. Let me just make sure that I'm recording and my microphone's working good. Looks like my DMs are fucking blowing up. God damn it, Johnny Bravo, stop fucking private messaging me, for the love of God. It's way too early here. Just kidding, man, but seriously. Anyways, no, just kidding. Looking at this right over here, I want to check out CMEs. Very strange action here on CMEs. It looks like CMEs actually already did test the medium-term range upside. If we're making a similar chart right here, if I were to draw on that same blue box, it'd be quite literally right here. Let's do something like this. Yes, there we go. And to the downside, what would we have right here? We have one right there and one right there. And we could throw a blue box in for the medium-term time frames right there too. Obviously, the long-term one to the downside still the same, right around about 11,100-ish, because there's a premium on price action, of course, with CMEs. But more importantly, CMEs do look a little bit strange here. That would read as a rejection off the top side, resistance, which very likely would imply another test back down to about 11,700-ish region on both spot and CMEs right here. But overall, I do think that this looks like a little bit of maybe a bad print, because we don't really see it on any other exchange that I'm aware of. Just looking at a 5-minute right here, this was all done in the same 5 minutes of price action. So as soon as it opened, just immediately down. So probably a bad print. Could be something else as well. I'll have to look into that later today. Obviously, this is very early in the morning for myself, so I want to keep these videos as fresh as possible. So I do my best not to look at any social media before making these videos. I certainly do not watch any anything else. And overall, that would look like a big old middle finger pattern right there. Very likely getting another test back down to 11.7. However, because we don't see the same thing, like I said, on all the other major exchanges, I'm led to believe that this is probably a bad print, if anything. Looking at all the other major exchanges, by the way, on the 4-hour, let's see what our momentum oscillators are saying right now, and see if we can come up with any sort of greater biases. So yes, 4-hour is showing. The 4-hour time frame is showing the efficacy of our lower term time frame blue box right here, which we could actually flip up a little bit more. I think I have it a little smidgen too low. Yeah, there we go. It should be between about 11,650 and 11,700. We'll call it. And what do you know? The 4-hour reverse Oak indicator cross shows us that as long as Bitcoin's essentially closing above that, well, momentum remains the upside. So even if Bitcoin did come back down here, I would initially be looking for a bounce first and foremost, and then come back to it after that. For right now, it looks like the 4-hour Stokes are actually nice and erect. We do have a competing trend line coming in right around here, which is going to be defending against the bullish control zone. So that is very much of interest. So it does lead me to believe that if Bitcoin were to test the top side of the medium-term resistance, right around about 12,000 bucks, very likely does pull back from that area rather than actually exceed it. But I'd be looking at the actual interaction if and when that does happen. Obviously, being 150 bucks away, you can't really make that sort of same interpretation right here. Do we have any sort of divergences to be aware of here as well? No hidden bearish divergence, which is also a good sign for another test of the upside as well. And well, obviously no regular bearish divergence, but no bullish divergence either. Do we see anything else on the 3 hour perhaps? 3 hours showing momentum pretty much at the same level, remains the upside as long as Bitcoin price action is closed above $11,740, and that is essentially riding this upside trend line that's been kind of holding in the higher lows from this what would be an ascending triangle structure coming in on the daily actually. But going back to the 3 hour right here, we do see still has a little bit more room and has that same sort of competing trend line as you'd naturally expect as the 4 hour, except giving it a little bit more leeway to the upside there, of course. So overall, things agreeing with each other is typically what makes good confluence. And in this case right here, we see what we would expect on the 2 hour as well. That 2 hour momentum actually is to the upside right now, will remain to the upside as long as this continues actually from right here. So what the very low term timeframes are suggesting is that if Bitcoin does not get continuation to the top side of 12,000 liquid zone right here, we could actually maybe move that up a little bit to like 12.1, perhaps between like 12.50 and 12.1. If I look at GDAX, it's a little bit different on Mexico, actually. Interesting. Anyways, more importantly, if Bitcoin fails to continue, relatively soon to the upside, then naturally speaking, lower term time frame will start to transfer into the into medium term time frame momentum, and will very likely come back down and at the very least test 11,700. So yes, the 2 hour is showing that in the next hour and 52 minutes and 43 seconds, if we do close below 11,850, so by the time that I do post this video, and it gets all through rendering and everything, should have cleared on that situation. But if it does close below, very likely we will initiate another test back down here. And I expect to see the same thing on the hourly as well, and actually to the fucking T there, 11,855. If Bitcoin does close below there on the next hourly, then very likely we will start to initiate another test back down towards that 11,650 to 11,700-ish region. For right now, though, the hourly actually is looking like it's kind of flip-flopping around, and it's really the buy hourly, the only one that's a little bit of a wild card right there. So I am led. So I still kind of would I would still kind of lean on my overall bias that Bitcoin very likely tests this area first before anything else, anywhere between like 12,000 and 12,100, we'll call it. And I'll actually flip this up just a smidgen here. Well, this is really only relevant for an hourly, so you know what? No, fuck that. I don't think that that's appropriate to do, because realistically, I don't really want to be focusing on a low-term time frame bullshit like this. Let's look at an hourly right here on historical volatility percentile. This is actually very much worthwhile. And what do you know? We do have that nice curtailing off event, and we are about 75% full within this, which means that it is very statistically likely to break, which if volatility is going to have a nice spike up, then that would very likely give Bitcoin the momentum to at the very least test the top side of this or the bottom side of this area right here, probably in the early morning hours today. I would be looking for that move actually, as that is the only indicator that I've really found that can actually potentially time a move. Although it doesn't time a move, it just gives you statistics about a move essentially. And right now we are kind of at an outlier as far as the hourly goes. So very likely we do see a move to one side of this range right here. And if we're going off of momentum, mediating it with momentum, it would suggest to the upside first rather than the downside. If we go over to our medium term timeframes, of which I've been using the 10 hour and 12 hour a lot more recently, and we do see that the 10 hour has actually gone under price action, let's confirm that. Yeah, technically it has, as long as we're closing 10 hour dildos above 11,800, momentum will turn back up to the upside, and that actually could have greater implications as the 10 hour has had some pretty damn good interplays with price action recently. More importantly, extremely likely it would transact another test back up to about $12,000. However, because the 10 hour is a medium term time frame and technically should have more weight, and because we do have that same sort of hidden bullish divergence here as well, if Bitcoin were to at the same time or maybe before then close a 2 hour or 4 hour dildo above that $12,000 range, then I'd extend those targets back up towards 12.3, we'll call it 12,300. So putting all the puzzle pieces together here, and things are looking like it's looking like higher highs and higher lows. I mean, until things change around from there, you're not going to hear my tone change all that much. And I want to be very direct in saying this. That means that I'm actually never going to call the ultimate high of a trend or the ultimate low of a trend. I'm always going to call the next sort of reversal on it, and that's essentially what I go off of. And for a little bit of perspective, perhaps as long as Bitcoin's Bitcoin's closing daily dollars above 11,400, those higher lows are intact and potentially even making one right here, especially if we can take out, what is this, 18th of August high? So that was not yesterday, but the day before. So Wednesday's high, yeah, at 12,024. So obviously coming in around that same region as well. And now you can really start to see all the things coming together right there. However, momentum on the daily and 12-hour do remain to the downside rather aggressively, as long as Bitcoin's closing below 12,200 on the daily, and on the 12-hour, that same level would be 12,300, which would actually be closing on new highs as well. So if Bitcoin were to get up to that level and close a 12-hour there, then not only would be closing on new highs on the 12-hour, but also turning momentum up at the same time after having what is more or less, in my opinion, a bullish reset right here. And what do you know? How did I miss this the other day? How the fuck did I miss this? Oh, Krown, you are so blind. You are so dumb. You are so stupid. You should kill yourself. I actually did get a comment yesterday. You should die. It's like, all right, well, how would you suggest I do this, sir? So looking at this right here, we do have this nice trend line holding in our last few lows since May, actually, May 25th. So coming in all the way over here on this low, out of this major base at 87.50. That's fucking perspective right there, isn't it? Coming out of this base right here at about 9,000. Coming out of this very last base right here at 9,100. All higher lows, by the way. And then where do we get the next test down towards it? Or actually, no, we didn't get one right there, but we did get one right here at 11,700. So all of these are, this is essentially a trend line that's been working for the last, May, June, July, August. So about almost 4 months. So rather interesting, we'll call it, and has been getting like the last lows essentially. Well, maybe not the last lows, but has been getting the bases out of which Bitcoin has been rallying off of during that time on the greater scale essentially. So I do think that it holds a rather important level right there. And what else do we want to talk about? Let's go over to the 2-day. The 2-day did close yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, and we got, okay, yes. The 2-day is interesting here as well. This does actually look a little bit toppy. The 2-day also does have bearish divergence in play as well, but it also, at the same time, if it could put in a higher low here, will have hidden bullish divergence. So I am skeptical about it actually playing out. In fact, I do believe that we saw the easy move of that already play out from essentially, I guess this high at 12.5 down to the low right here at about 11,550 for a 7.5% move. I do think that would be a relevant assumption to be made, but more importantly, it's in line with world markets right now. So we've spoken a lot about Bitcoin up until now. 17 minutes into this bitch, and Jesus Christ, let's go over here and check out traditional markets, because I think that this is going to hold more weight, and then we'll come back for a TA nerd session later. Fuck all the rest. No, just kidding. Spoon boys, well, I'm not going to tell you that you're not welcome here, but it's just it's not the best content for you probably. Just find those videos that say, with $5, you can turn it into $1 million by trading the shitcoin carousel. It's like, all right, okay. Didn't learn my lesson with Beanie Babies, did I? Just kidding. Just taking a little bit of a piss. Sorry. Okay, so where's my NASDAQ futures? There you are. There you are, you NASCoin, you super pumping piece of work, you. And what do you know? What do you know? Oh, the $11,500 target has been hit once again. How is this possible? Well, trends seem to continue, and we have a very similar interplay between Bitcoin and NASDAQ as far as the more recent price action, with NASDAQ the other day getting a pretty big down move. Everyone got super bearish on it. We spoke about a move back down to the 10 simple, of which we got at 11,200, and then, well, bouncy bounce was had. I think that I don't think that we spoke about the short-term time frame regions, but a close back above 11.4 was then going to initiate a move towards 11,527 and a quarter, also in line with the 2.72 Fibonacci extension. And I actually do have a measure move out of this base right here, pointed a little bit more north towards the 2.618. So while I would be looking at the 2.414 as a resistance, I'd only be looking at it as a short-term resistance. Very likely, if NASDAQ takes out 11,500 right here, I'd be looking for extension towards about 11,700 in line with the measure move in the 2.618, which typically holds more weight anyways. The 2.414 probably only relevant for the very short-term timeframes. And for another perspective on a Friday going into the weekly closure, what's this? Hold on. I think it's an uptrend. I see higher highs and higher lows ever since 2009. Reversal. This one's going down to the motherfucking ground. It's like, oh, what's the narrative going to be now, my crypto moon boy friends, my crypto degen friends? It's not that but this is all said with love, by the way. But Jesus Christ, man, remember like a few months ago when everyone was harping on the stock market's going to be going down, and you know it's going to be going up. Bitcoin! So buy Bitcoin! Yeah. No, everything's actually going up because a rising tide lifts all ships. And guess what? Even though, you know, we love our communities here and everything, at the end of the day, we're all one. The world is all one, my friends. And God damn it, you know, if the traditional markets are going down, I don't think that people are going to jump into a highly speculative asset like Bitcoin, which is used for very little. It does get used for some things, yes, but very difficult to use for the most part, and definitely not widespread either. It's not like I can go into the supermarket right now and use my fucking Bitcoins or anything like that. And more importantly, you know, looking at this right here, I would say that the strength in traditional markets very likely bodes well for Bitcoin as well, probably testing back up to 12,000. And if I had to put my words on it right now, probably beyond over the next couple weeks. And looking at this right here, we also have to realize that the monthly close is a little bit more than a week, a little bit more than a week away now. And as it stands, well, the trend is your friend, going all the way back here since 2009. Not even during the coronavirus bullshit did we create a downtrend. Not even during the fucking coronavirus bullshit did we create a downtrend. I will repeat, not even during the fucking coronavirus bullshit did the NASDAQ even put in a downtrend on the monthly. This is more than a 10-year long trend. And guess what? It is probably likely to continue a little bit more. Now, I would want to be on the record as saying this as well. I would think that this run probably does find some pushback or potential reversal probably around the time that U.S. elections go on. Very likely around that time, especially if anyone but Trump wins. And this is not a political statement. I'm not a political person. I'm not even a Trump supporter. I'm also not a Biden supporter either. So before, like, it's like if you love cat or dogs. If you don't say that you also love dogs, if you say that you also like cats, then like the dog people fucking hate you. I don't know how that works. It's like, it's gangs, man. It's fucking gangs. But realistically, what I'm trying to say is that it's no secret that once Trump got into office, the market just went fucking up and up and up, and I was witness to that. I was witness to that during that time. So you know, for right now, while things are kind of still in the making. We obviously have non-clarity around that situation, but as the election date comes closer and closer, which I believe is November? Is it November? Probably November. I don't even know when I'm not even going to vote. I don't care. I shouldn't even vote. I don't live in America. It's like, why should I have any say over what goes on there? But I just still have to pay taxes there. That's the beauty of having a U.S. passport. You get the privilege of having a U.S. passport. You get to pay a fucking subscription fee every goddamn year. Yeah, that's a good one too. Anyways, let's go over here and check out E-mini futures for SPY. We'll have a chance to close on new weekly highs as well this week. Anything above 33.81, and it will officially do that, but it's a long day to go, of course. And while it has been grinding out the highs and has been retesting the prior all-time high at about 33.97 and a half, getting up to yesterday 33.93 and a half as well, about $4 lower. It does look like today is going to give a legitimate try. I do like yesterday's buyback back above the 10 simple as all major moving averages maintain a positive slope. Daily momentum oscillators are still pointed north, but a little bit tired up there. Daily RSI looks more or less healthy to me. Consolidating in the lower end of the bullish control zone typically is a good thing, and I'd be looking for probably another stab higher first. Do I have a target for that? I do not have targets for this. The only way that I could really come up with a target for this is maybe looking at probabilities, which we could do right now, and we'll see if anything really makes sense off this one. But looking at the daily right here, god damn it, hey, stop that, get the fuck out. All right, there we go. Looking at the daily right here, we do see that all the rings are pointed to the north side, so we do have positive slopes there as well. And more importantly, where do we see the first standard deviation, which could be a potential next resistance? Let's see. Having trouble reading this right now. My eyes have deceived me. 3450. 3450. No. Sorry. 3450. Then 3500 on the second standard deviation. That's very low probability, by the way. Third standard deviation showing 3550. So what's most likely, or 68, or sorry, 16% likely is 3450-ish region, we'll call it. And I would be looking for a small pullback there, perhaps. If things do get a little bit extreme, then yeah, you will typically see those moves come into the second or third standard deviation, but those are very low probability type things. Less than like 2.5 and 1% respectively. I mean, these very, 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 very low probability. So typically only happens at like the end of parabolic run ups or dumps, which we actually could see here as this one does start to get lift off. And again, for perspective on the monthly, well, it would appear to me that this is once again an uptrend. All right, let's go check out Nifty for the Indians out there. And oh, what's this? Nice little runaway from the lows right there. And another uptrend. Is this one probably gonna go up with the rest of the world markets because a rising tide lifts all motherfucking ships to 11,800 over the next couple of months? Probably yes. Probably yes, depending upon how next week goes. But let's see how this week's gonna close. Yeah, a closure here or higher on this week, and I'll be looking for extension into the next week up to probably at the very least 11,650, but over time probably 11,800 to 11,900 region. Looks like it's going to join the party with the rest of the world basically. Let's go look at some of the singular stocks. Where's our heavy lifters? Where's the heavy hitters? There they are. Where's Microsoft? Oh, nice, 214.5. Microsoft popping up as well, hitting the top side of the range as we spoke about, creating a very nice base right here, and any sort of a daily closure today or weekly closure above where? Yeah, okay, so a weekly closure end of today above 214 or a daily closure above 216 and 3/4, and I'd actually be targeting a move much higher, in fact, towards the 2 extension on the fibs at around 233.5. It's also in line with the measure move from this base being built right here. Overall, looking very good. Looks like continuation, and I imagine that we're probably going to see the same fucking thing on Apple. Oh, what's this? Another uptrend. Already breaking to the upside. How crazy. This is wild. It's almost as if I've never seen a fucking uptrend before in my life. Continuation, man. I don't have any more targets for this one. I don't have any targets. It just goes up until acted upon by an outside force. I used to tell this story of how my mentor used to beat that lesson into me, saying, "Kid, when something's making new all-time highs, it will continue to make new all-time highs until it doesn't." And that fucking statement used to always piss me the hell off until I understood what it meant. And it's basically a trend is likely to continue. And in this case right here, we can look at expected moves, and come up with potential resistance areas, of which we're actually at one right now at 274.5. Second standard deviation is showing 286.25. Third standard deviation showing just around $500. Would be a nice round even number. Do I think that Apple just gets a free ride there regardless of it? Probably yes, over the next couple weeks. And at which point I'd probably be looking for a pullback there. But as far as I'm concerned on a monthly, unless if this absolutely crashes down to catastrophe-ish levels below like 430 in the next how many days do we have? 10 days. Then I would be looking for new all-time highs coming into September as well. Tesla at 2,000, so we did hit our $2,000 target, also in line with one of these fucking extensions over here. I don't know, it looks like the 2618 probably, the 2618 did get hit right there. Probably be looking for a short-term pullback off this. I do think that it will probably trade back down to like 1925 today, but overall is the weekly, good for new all-time highs after that? Very, very likely. So very likely, assuming this thing closes anywhere above like 1950, end of today, which is also gonna be the end of the weekly, I'd be looking for new all-time highs coming into next week as well. Euro dollar, are we still finding highs here? Still selling off into the blue box territory right here. We had a good discussion about this in the program Discord yesterday. Jackie, who I really respect as a trader, was calling this a reversal on a weekly, and he's right, it is a reversal on a weekly, but it's not a reversal on a monthly. And I care a lot more about a monthly when you have 30 years of history on the charts like this. On Bitcoin we use a weekly because we only have about 10 years of price action history. So if you're looking for the higher term time frame read, I do believe it's better to be held on a monthly. Doesn't mean that it can't pull through here as well, but as you can see, it is getting rejection off the 200 exponential moving average on the monthly, which this has been a downtrend, speaking about trends, ever since 2008. So we technically do have a potential higher low going in right here, to be fair. But as it is right now, this is this is well below the last prior high at 124. That would imply, though, if we can get a weekly closure above this 119 and 3/4 mark, I would actually be looking for a move all the way up to 1 1/4. But for right now, I do still stick with what I've been saying. I think that this one probably spikes the blue box a few more times in the 119 region, but overall, I do think that this one's very likely put in a top here and then turns back down. And looking at momentum oscillators, I would expect to see hidden bearish divergence on the monthly RSI if that were going to happen. We actually don't have that, so that would actually be a good counterpoint to what I'm saying. Monthly Stokes, actually pretty damn erect. I'm about to get into the bullish control zone as well, so interesting all around. But overall, it's still going to take a few months anyways. And for perspective on Bitcoin, just kind of wrap that whole higher term time frame bullshit up. What is this? Well, we have a continuation of trend here as well. I mean, this is technically a 10-year uptrend too, which is pretty damn impressive. It's literally all the same thing on a fucking monthly. On a fucking monthly, literally all the fucking same thing. Well, with slight discrepancies, of course. Bitcoin's not making new all-time highs with traditional markets, but hey, let's not talk about that. Puts in a low right here, puts in a high right here, higher low right here, and then what happens at end of July? Well, we close on new highs, so that is quite literally continuation in the same name of it. And I would be realistically, I don't really have any reason to be looking for like a greater pullback down below 10,000 or even 10,500, as long as depending upon how this monthly closes. But as long as this monthly closes above 11,000, no, I wouldn't be looking for anything like that. And momentum oscillators seem to agree. Momentum on the monthly remains the upside as long as Bitcoin price action will close this next monthly above $9,000. Kind of a wide range there, to be fair, but hey, there you go. Monthly RSI looks constructive. Looks actually like an inverted head and shoulders, which would imply a test back up into the bullish control zone. And monthly Joule giving you a hodl or long signal along the same way. Now, because we are in the TA nerd session, I think it is appropriate for me to show you this. This is the daily Joule right here, and daily Joule is into a little bit of a sell posturing. Is this a perfect sell signal? No, it's not. What we really want to see is we want to actually see the blue kind of snap back and line up for a perfect if it is going to line up for an actual perfect. But if it is going to do something of that nature, I'd expect to see something similar on a 12-hour, and we actually did see a perfect one on a 12-hour right here. Perfectly done August 17th on this, right here. Actually, oh, damn. It doesn't always it usually catches like the momentum off the highs, not like the actual high. In this case, it actually did catch the high, which is kind of nice. And again, this was already a 7.5% move, 7.25% move, about $1,000 from top to bottom, actually. So I do think that it would be relevant to say that that's actually already played out on the 12-hour. But do we see the same thing on CMEs? We see the same thing on the 12-hour. So yes, that's going to be a good efficacious signal. We do not see the same thing on the daily. In fact, I'd say the same thing on the daily right here as I do on spot. We'd actually expect the blue to kind of snap back up and then line up for a perfect sell signal, which can happen, and that would be quite deadly. And that would be that would very likely lead things back down to at the very least like 11,000 and maybe beyond. So it's still in the cards, obviously, but for right now, it looks to me like things want to test to the upside first, and then we'll come back and see exactly where all the higher term timeframes close, because we are very, very close to the weekly closure and also the monthly closure, which are going to take precedence over everything pretty much that we've spoken about on all the lower term timeframes below that. I want to also check out the Trollinger bands over here as well. We've been watching this one and going over here to the daily. But Bitcoin. Fucking inanimate object, doesn't love you, doesn't love me either, so fair enough. We'll just call it what it is. And more importantly, bouncing off the median Trollinger band right here, things actually do contract back into it, which is interesting because as long as we are above the top side, not the top side, but the median Trollinger band right here, it would imply a range between essentially 11.7, which is exactly where those trend lines were coming in at, and also the top side Trollinger band at 12.3. So the maybe not the greater, but the higher term timeframes like a daily, suggesting a range between there. Whereas I would say on the medium term timeframes, the range is between 11,650 to about 12,000. I'm curious what the 12-hour says here as well. Yeah, finding its footing once again on the median Trollinger band, and especially if it can. Actually, it already got an open and close above it, I believe. Let's see. Yes, opened above and closed above. Yeah. I would be looking for a test back up towards 12. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is the furthest thing from financial advice, and could never be construed as such. So I would say that overall, take that with a grain of salt. And but plenty of things lining up right here. Should we look at the MACD's nuts as well? Not anything too much of interest there. Momentum is actually still waning to the downside, or sorry, increasing to the downside. What about in the very low term time frames? Don't usually look at it right around here either, but this is rather interesting. Well, is it that interesting? It is interesting, but I just think that we have better tools to kind of explain that, which we've already explained. We do see the same sort of divergence on histogram though on the 4 hour with hidden bullish divergence between this point and this point, making lower lows on histogram with higher lows on price action. Curious if we see the same thing on maybe like a 12 hour. No, we do not see the same thing on a 12 hour actually. However, I would be looking for these babies to come all the way back down around 0, and that would be a nice pivot point as well if that lines up with one of the areas that we mentioned earlier. So yeah. Anyways, okay, so this video is already, 35 minutes long. Let's start to wrap this bitch up. Let's go back on over to Bitcoin and cover up the short-term time frame ranges and then line it up with the probabilities. So, pretty much the same thing as yesterday, really. We're just kind of seeing it play out in like slow motion speed, I guess. Not to say that in an arrogant way. It's just, that's just trading, man. It's a lot of waiting, really. 11,000, I'll call it 11,650 to the downside resolution. And that, yes, very likely would transact another move all the way back down towards $11,000 base, give or take a few bucks from that region. But that is, a $600 to a $700 move. So very much tradable with bounces along the way, very likely around here at about 11.4, the last daily low. I'll put one right there. Actually, we could fit a nice little liquid zone right there. In fact, all good. Jesus, man. Now Chief Deadly's going at it in the Discord as well. Hey, man, calm down. Jesus. Okay, so yes, 11,650 right here, and then I'll use 12,000 to the upside right here, and the relevancy for the upside move would be transpiring another move back up towards 12.3, maybe even 12.5. We'll see where things end for the weekly. But let's go to the probability panel and show me the probability. Show me the money, baby. Okay. Oh, and what do you know? The rings are once again lost their negative slope and actually turned around to positive slope. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? All right, so we'll use 12 to the upside and 11,650 to the downside. And what do we got? Alrighty, whoops, there we go. Okay, so the probabilities have now shifted in the favor of the upside. If you recall yesterday, the probabilities were briefly shifted in the favor of the downside. Now, I think that people massively, or maybe not people, but some people might massively misunderstand what the meaning of a probability is. When you have a probability, just because the above target probability is higher than the below target probability does not mean that the above target probability is destined to be hit. That's not what it means at all. In fact, what's most likely in this scenario is that we range between those two areas, because that's going to be I'm doing some bad mental math right now, actually maybe a little bit less than that. But what it is saying is that over a series of tries, that yes, the above target probability from the same sort of granted information is going to get hit more than the downside, about 4.5% more to be exact. But on an n equals 1, is that going to be true? No, it means very little. And what's more important is to look at their absolute values, actually, because anything that has above a 30% chance of, or sorry, a 30% probability of occurring, well, that's basically about 1 in 3 tries, right? So whether you're 38 or 34%, it's going to be very minimal, and it would say that it's kind of equally as likely here. But it is interesting nonetheless to see that the above target probability is once again overtaken in absolute value, the below target probability. So technically speaking, it is agreeing with more or less the other things based off of momentum, and we do see that Bawling Pig's mom's actually turning down right here, not good for Bitcoin Boolahs, and the error correcting Bawling Pig's mom's also turning down as well. In fact, increasing to the downside. So interesting there too. Anyways, I do think that this is a good place to start to wrap up this video. And what do we see? So overall, let me take this off. And same range as yesterday. As long as Bitcoin's above 11,650 on a 2-hour or 4-hour delta closure, I'm just looking at this to, probably bounce back up if it does, if it does test into this region. If things were to close below there on those timeframes, though, that's where things actually do start to switch around. I would look for a very short-term move down here towards 11.4, probably a short-term bounce, but it'd very likely just be that, just a bounce, and things would come all the way back down to 11,000, give or take a few bucks. And of course, if this area were to break the long-term area, then I'd be looking for, more than $1,000 move to the downside back below 10,000 in this 98 to 9,900 region right here. Now, while I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen, always have to have those areas marked off whereby I see these chains as a trader because, well, weird and random things happen. So it needs to be defined. Otherwise, the market will pull down your pants and have its way with you, or at least that's what I've found to be true in my experience. To the upside right here, still looking at about 12,000. And if Bitcoin does take out 12,000 to the upside, I would be looking for extension towards 12.3 to 12.5 region. But overall, I'd realistically just be looking for a range to be played out here with the next with the next test probably testing the top side of the range at 12,000, give or take a few bucks, and then probably does have a short-term pullback from there, and then maybe we put another low along this trend line, and then we'll come back tomorrow and see what's up. But if Bitcoin were to close above this region, then yes, probably looking for a little a small extension there. But overall, right now, sideways above 11,700 or 11,650 is more or less constructive and more or less setting another higher low as far as I'm concerned. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best once again. I'm going to be signing off now. I'll be back on tomorrow. Until then, take care and see you soon.